Most ancient cultures disappear without a trace, leaving behind only fragments of pottery or scattered stones. But 2025 has changed everything. In Guatemala, archaeologists uncovered a nearly 3,000-year-old Mayan complex, complete with sanctuaries, pyramids, and an intricate canal system. In Egypt, researchers discovered the tomb of Thutmose II, the first royal Egyptian tomb found since Tutankhamun's in 1922. These aren't isolated finds. Advanced technology is now revealing lost worlds at an unprecedented rate. Some of these civilizations were more advanced than Rome at its peak. Others developed technologies we still can't replicate. We're about to explore 50 of these vanished societies, each one a testament to human ingenuity and a mystery that modern science is racing to solve. The digital revolution in archaeology. The technology behind these discoveries moves at a pace that would have seemed impossible just 5 years ago. LIDAR systems mounted on drones now penetrate dense forest canopies to reveal ancient settlements that have remained hidden for centuries. In the Peruvian Andes, researchers using LIDAR mapping began detailed surveys of Research Area Number 1 in 2025, uncovering geometric patterns beneath the vegetation that suggest substantial pre-Columbian construction. Ground-penetrating radar processes vast areas of terrain, while satellite imagery analyzes landscape data to identify subtle features that indicate human habitation. The numbers tell the story. Between 2020 and 2025, advanced imaging technology has identified more lost civilizations than all previous archaeological expeditions combined. Each technological advance reveals settlements that have remained hidden for millennia. Satellite systems now scan thousands of square kilometers daily, processing data that would have taken decades to collect using traditional methods. In the jungles of Campeche, Mexico, LIDAR surveys revealed extensive tile patterns and settlement structures hidden beneath the canopy. The discovery shows organized urban planning across areas much larger than previously suspected, with evidence of sophisticated water management and agricultural systems. The Zbaydin core area, identified through these advanced scanning techniques, demonstrates how technology can reveal the true extent of ancient civilizations that appeared much smaller when viewed from ground level. Artificial intelligence now predicts where lost civilizations might be hiding. Machine learning algorithms analyze satellite imagery to identify landscape features that typically indicate human settlement. These systems recognize subtle elevation changes, soil color variations, and vegetation patterns that suggest buried structures. The AI model Deep Andes Arch, part of the Geopasha project analyzing high-resolution satellite and aerial imagery of the Andes, has already detected over 1 million archaeological loci in just a fraction of the total area the project will cover. The approach allows AI to handle the initial feature detection, while human experts refine and verify the results. The sophistication of these newly discovered societies challenges everything we thought we knew about ancient human capabilities. A site in northern Kazakhstan revealed metallurgical workshops that produce steel alloys more advanced than medieval European techniques. The facilities included precision-engineered furnaces that reach temperatures not achieved in Europe until the Industrial Revolution. Tool analysis shows the inhabitants created surgical instruments with edges sharper than modern scalpels. Satellite imagery reveals patterns that suggest continental-scale civilizations. Geometric earthworks in the American Midwest form networks that stretch across multiple states. The structures include massive earthen mounds, geometric enclosures, and linear features that align with astronomical events. The coordination required to build these features across such distances indicates communication and organizational systems that operated on a scale previously thought impossible for pre-industrial societies. Road networks discovered through aerial surveys connect distant archaeological sites in patterns that suggest unified political systems. In Central Asia, ancient highways link settlements separated by hundreds of kilometers. The roads include engineering features like bridges, culverts, and retaining walls that demonstrate sophisticated construction techniques. The network facilitated trade and communication across regions that historians believed were isolated from each other. Evidence of advanced technologies appears in sites that predate known technological developments by centuries. Precision-cut stone blocks in Peru fit together with tolerances measured in millimeters. Ancient concrete found in underwater ruins shows chemical compositions that produce materials more durable than modern alternatives. Glass artifacts display optical properties that suggest knowledge of advanced lens-making techniques. The ethical implications of rapid discovery create complex dilemmas for the archaeological community. Each new site requires years of careful excavation to properly document and preserve. Current technology reveals sites faster than teams can study them. Many locations remain vulnerable to looting, development, or natural destruction while awaiting proper archaeological attention. The question of whether to excavate immediately or preserve sites for future generations with better technology has no clear answer. Indigenous communities worldwide report that their oral traditions describe many of these newly discovered sites. Traditional stories include detailed descriptions of ancient cities, their inhabitants, and the reasons for their abandonment. These accounts often provide more accurate information than archaeological speculation. The integration of traditional knowledge with modern technology creates more complete pictures of ancient civilizations. The speed of discovery outpaces the ability to properly document and study findings. Archaeological teams trained in traditional excavation techniques struggle to adapt to the volume of new sites requiring attention. Graduate programs cannot produce enough qualified archaeologists to staff all the investigations that new technology makes possible. Important sites remain uninvestigated simply because there are not enough experts available to study them. Dating techniques applied to newly discovered sites produce results that contradict established historical timelines. Settlements thought to be 500 years old turn out to be 2,000 years old. Technologies believed to be medieval appear in sites that predate the Roman Empire. These discrepancies force historians to reconsider fundamental assumptions about human development and cultural exchange. The 2025 discoveries are rewriting textbooks across multiple academic disciplines. History courses now include civilizations that did not exist in academic literature 5 years ago. Anthropology departments redesign curricula to incorporate new evidence about ancient human societies. Engineering schools study ancient techniques that produce results superior to modern methods. But technology only reveals the structures these civilizations left behind. The real mystery lies in understanding who built them, where these people came from, and what happened to them. The answers to these questions require looking beyond stones and pottery to examine something far more revealing about ancient human societies. DNA mysteries unlocking ancient migrations. Ancient DNA analysis provides that deeper understanding. In 2025, genetic research revealed connections that challenge everything archaeologists thought they knew about isolated civilizations. A groundbreaking study published in Nature presented the whole genome sequence of an ancient Egyptian individual from the Old Kingdom period, dating between 2855 and 2570 BCE. The genetic analysis showed ancestry links to earlier North African groups and populations of the Eastern Fertile Crescent. The findings suggest that the genetic makeup of the Egyptian population was shaped by both local ancestry and gene flow from other regions, indicating a complex interplay of origins that historians never suspected. The revolution in genetic extraction has transformed how we study ancient peoples. Scientists can now pull DNA from pottery fragments, ancient textiles, and even stone tools. This breakthrough means every artifact becomes a potential genetic library. The technology extracts genetic material from materials previously considered scientifically useless. Ancient leather preserves DNA for thousands of years longer than bone in certain climates. Wooden implements retain genetic traces from the people who carved and used them. Stone mortars used for grinding grain contain DNA from multiple generations of users. These genetic discoveries reveal that civilizations we considered lost actually scattered and merged with other groups. The mysterious builders of Great Zimbabwe didn't vanish into thin air. Their descendants migrated across southern Africa and integrated with existing communities. Genetic analysis of modern populations shows Zimbabwe DNA markers spread across 6 different ethnic groups, over 800 kilometers from the original site. The civilization survived by adapting and blending rather than maintaining isolation. The Anasazi people of the American Southwest present another case of genetic persistence rather than disappearance. DNA analysis shows their genetic markers appear in 23 different Native American tribes across the region. The supposed collapse of Anasazi civilization around 1300 CE actually represents mass migration and cultural integration. Modern Pueblo communities carry high concentrations of Anasazi DNA along with cultural practices that trace directly back to the ancient cliff dwellings. The civilization transformed rather than vanished. Environmental DNA sampling reveals human presence in locations where no ruins exist. Lake sediments in northern Canada contain human genetic material dating back 3,000 years. No archaeological sites have been found in the region from that period. The DNA evidence suggests substantial human populations lived there for centuries without leaving visible traces of permanent settlement. Cave sediments across Europe show similar patterns, where human DNA concentrations indicate large populations that left no architectural remains. The genetic connections between distant civilizations challenge our understanding of ancient travel capabilities. DNA analysis links the Tiwanaku civilization of Bolivia with coastal peoples in Chile and mountain communities in Peru. These populations lived in completely different environments, separated by treacherous mountain ranges. The genetic evidence shows regular movement of people between these regions over many centuries. The scale of this movement suggests organized transportation networks that left no archaeological evidence. Ancient DNA from the Mayan site of Copan reveals genetic similarities with populations across Mexico and Central America. The genetic analysis shows continuous population movement throughout the classic Maya period. Modern Maya communities in Mexico carry genetic markers that trace directly back to Copan inhabitants from 1,200 years ago. The data suggests Maya civilization spread through migration and intermarriage rather than conquest or trade relationships alone. The study also indicated a significant population decline around 1,200 years ago, but not complete disappearance, supporting the idea of population movement and cultural integration during the Classic period. The Genome-Asia 100K Consortium's 2025 study analyzed DNA sequence data from 1,537 individuals, representing 139 diverse ethnic groups. The research traced an ancient migratory journey that began in Africa, proceeded through North Asia, and ended at Tierra del Fuego in modern-day Argentina. The study mapped the unexpectedly large genetic diversity of Asia, offering insights into human evolution and the genetic resilience of different populations. The findings highlighted the importance of including Asian populations in genetic studies and revealed migration patterns that occurred over thousands of years. The implications for modern populations create complex questions about ancestry and identity. Genetic analysis shows that most people today carry DNA from multiple ancient civilizations that supposedly never interacted. European populations contain genetic markers from Central Asian nomads, North African farmers, and Middle Eastern traders. African populations show genetic contributions from ancient Mediterranean civilizations, Asian pastoral groups, and isolated hunter-gatherer communities. The genetic mixing occurred over thousands of years through migration and trade relationships that left no written records. The ethical considerations of genetic research on ancient peoples create ongoing controversies. Many ancient DNA samples come from human remains that were collected without consent from descendant communities. Indigenous groups worldwide object to genetic studies that treat their ancestors as research subjects. Some communities have successfully demanded the return of genetic material and the destruction of research data. The scientific value of genetic research conflicts with cultural beliefs about appropriate treatment of ancestral remains. The revelation that most ancient civilizations survived through genetic persistence rather than complete extinction changes how we understand historical processes. The Moche civilization of Peru supposedly collapsed around 800 CE. Genetic analysis shows Moche DNA markers appear in high concentrations among modern coastal Peruvian populations. The civilization adapted to changing conditions by dispersing geographically and integrating with other groups. The cultural collapse masked genetic and demographic continuity that persisted for over 1,000 years. DNA evidence proves that vanished civilizations live on in the genetic heritage of modern populations. The builders of ancient Nubia survive in the genetics of modern Sudanese communities. The mysterious sea peoples, who disrupted Bronze Age civilizations, contributed genetic material to populations across the Mediterranean. The supposed disappearance of these ancient peoples represents cultural transformation rather than biological extinction. Their genes tell stories of survival and adaptation that archaeological evidence alone could never reveal. But genetics only explains who these people were and where they went. The question of why they left their magnificent cities and abandoned their advanced technologies requires examining the forces that drove them away. The answer lies in data that scientists are only now beginning to decode. Climate data reveals the real killers. Climate reconstruction techniques now provide that precise understanding. Recent advances in ice core analysis, tree ring studies, and sediment examination create year-by-year climate records that correlate directly with archaeological evidence of societal decline. These records challenge previous assumptions that prioritized warfare or disease as primary causes of collapse, revealing instead that environmental factors played the decisive role in shaping human history. The evidence shows that climate shifts preceded major population movements by decades, creating cascading effects that took generations to fully manifest in human societies. The changes happened so gradually that people adapted year by year without recognizing the long-term trajectory. A farmer whose grandfather remembered abundant harvests would accept smaller yields as normal variation. A merchant whose father traded across flourishing trade routes would assume temporary disruptions would resolve themselves. The populations lived through their own extinction without understanding what was happening. The Akkadian Empire provides the most compelling example of climate-driven collapse. Formed around 4,300 years ago, this first empire in human history stretched along the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, controlling trade routes across Mesopotamia for over 180 years before disappearing around 2150 BCE. Traditional histories blame political instability or military invasion. In 2018, paleoclimatologists discovered evidence in northern Iran's Dou-el-Izard cave, which lies directly downwind of Akkadian territory. The cave stalagmites offered a precise record of dry spells, with higher magnesium levels indicating dusty periods. One severe drought lasting 43 years coincided exactly with the empire's fall, suggesting environmental catastrophe was the catalyst for its demise. The Curse of Akkad, a contemporary poem, describes this period of drought and famine that archaeological evidence now confirms. Maya civilization experienced similar climate stress that lasted for multiple generations. The civilization emerged in 2600 BCE and persisted for over 3 millennia before experiencing dramatic collapse between 800 CE and 950 CE, marked by the abandonment of many great cities. Climatological research confirmed that a mega-drought spanning the 9th to 11th centuries was a major factor. These dry cycles were the most severe and frequent in Maya prehistory, with some drought periods extending 60 to 80 years without significant rainfall recovery. Children grew up never knowing normal rainfall patterns. Adults died having never experienced the abundant water resources that built their cities, like Tikal and Köpen. The Maya built elaborate water storage systems, including underground cisterns and artificial reservoirs that worked effectively during normal precipitation cycles, but failed during extended dry periods. Archaeological evidence shows Maya cities were abandoned in waves corresponding to the most severe drought cycles, leading to the abandonment of urban centers by 950 CE. The Norse settlements in Greenland faced climate challenges that proved insurmountable despite their initial success. Established around 985 CE, they thrived during the medieval warm period when conditions supported agriculture and livestock. The eruption of Samala's volcano in Indonesia around 1257 CE triggered the Little Ice Age, causing worldwide cooling that lasted several years. Ice core data shows global temperatures dropped by an average of 2 degrees Celsius. This cooling made agriculture impossible at northern latitudes. The Norse farmers struggled to adapt to the sudden return of cold, and studies suggest that a persistent drying trend reduced grass for livestock grazing. The settlers proved unable to adapt to the changing conditions. The last written record was a wedding in Volsi Church in 1408, after which there is nothing. volcanic eruptions created global climate disruptions that toppled civilizations across multiple continents simultaneously. The Samalas eruption caused crop failures across Europe, Asia, and the Americas. The cooling also disrupted monsoon patterns that affected civilizations in Southeast Asia and India. Solar minimum periods reduced global temperatures and altered precipitation patterns across decades, affecting atmospheric circulation patterns that bring seasonal rains to agricultural regions. Ocean current changes created cascading effects that reached far inland from coastal areas. When the Atlantic circulation system weakened, it affected rainfall patterns across Europe and North Africa. The changes happened gradually over several decades, allowing populations to adapt temporarily through migration and trade. However, the underlying environmental conditions continued deteriorating until adaptation became impossible. Civilizations that had thrived for centuries found their core territories uninhabitable within a single generation. The generational timeline of climate-driven collapse reveals its psychological impact on ancient populations. Environmental degradation typically took 60 to 80 years to completely undermine a civilization's foundation. This timeline meant that people lived their entire lives watching their world slowly deteriorate. Children born during the early stages of decline grew up, had families, and died of old age while conditions continued worsening. The gradual nature of the change made it difficult for societies to coordinate effective responses. Some civilizations successfully adapted to climate change, while others in identical regions collapsed completely. The key difference lay in social flexibility and technological innovation. Societies that maintained diverse food sources and decentralized political systems survived climate stress better than those dependent on single crops or centralized administration. The ancestral Puebloans of the American Southwest abandoned their cliff-dwelling cities, but successfully transitioned to more sustainable settlements in river valleys. Climate data reveals that environmental destruction often amplified natural climate variations. Deforestation for agriculture and construction altered regional precipitation patterns. Intensive farming depleted soil nutrients and increased erosion. Large-scale irrigation projects changed river flows and groundwater levels. The civilizations that seemed most successful at exploiting natural resources often created the conditions for their own collapse. These climate records provide crucial context for understanding why civilizations vanished, but they also raise fundamental questions about when these societies actually existed. The precision of modern environmental data contrasts sharply with the uncertainty that still surrounds the basic chronology of human development. The dating revolution changes everything. New dating methods are rewriting those chronologies with mathematical precision. Radiocarbon dating in 2025 operates with accuracy that seemed impossible just 5 years ago. The new accelerator mass spectrometry systems can measure carbon isotopes in samples smaller than a grain of rice. Cosmic ray analysis tracks how long stone surfaces have been exposed to radiation from space. Luminescence dating determines when ceramic objects were last heated by measuring trapped electrons in crystal structures. These methods work together to provide dating windows measured in decades rather than centuries. The precision eliminates the uncertainty that previously allowed archaeologists to fit evidence into established theories. The dates don't add up anymore. A stone temple in Turkey just got redated from 2,000 years old to 11,000 years old. That places advanced architecture at the end of the last ice age, when humans were supposedly still hunting mammoths with stone spears. The margin of error is only 30 years. The techniques are that precise now. This single discovery pushes back the timeline of human civilization by thousands of years and forces us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about ancient human capabilities.